All right, joining us now, retired Major General Scott Clancy, former Director of Operations at NORAD. Sir, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much for having me.
So you sent us some fascinating background, I have to say. Some of it I found to be rather alarming. But let's start with, I guess, the less alarming piece of this, which is that you do seem to suggest that there are a lot of things that people may be seeing that are normal. But I am curious to know, do you think the federal government knows more about these drones than they're telling Americans?
No, I actually don't think they know much more. And this is the place that is causing confusion between the population, the citizens, their representatives, and the officials. When you don't have answers to these questions, obviously citizens want to know, but getting a hold of exactly what these drones are is very, very hard. The sensors required to see these low radar cross section things are very localized, and there's very little regulatory help from the FAA or anything else to delineate which these operators are malicious versus those which are foreign or domestic, threats.
So, fair enough. That also, though, suggests, I mean, it's potentially a reason to be concerned if you're citizens, if federal government can't figure out what they are. I mean, what do you think is the most plausible explanation for what's going on?
So I think you're seeing a bunch of things happening at the same time. First of all, I do think there is a large number of these that are being misidentified as civilian aircraft or military aircraft, even military drones. And if they were military drones, the Department of Defense and the Homeland Security would not necessarily say that they were anyways. And the things that these are happening at night, because you see with respect to the distinction between lit aircraft and unlit, you see them at night, whereas if that exact same drone was operating during the day, you wouldn't even notice that it was in the sky. But there are a number of unmanned aerial systems or drones that are operating out there at night. The question that everybody needs to be answering, both citizens and lawmakers and officials, how many of these are negligent drone operators versus malicious actors? And that delineation is where the problem space is.
Yeah. So speaking of malicious actors, there was a congressman, Jeff Van Drew, Republican, who suggested that there was an Iranian mothership off the coast, right? Which the Pentagon flat out denied. They said this is not the case. But that said, I know in your background at NORAD, you did have concerns about the security of the oceans and the ways in which ships off of our coast could potentially pose security threats. What do you know about that, and how do you think it might relate to this situation?
So, there's a few things that pertaining to the security of the homeland that we need to make very, very clear. But the first one is that successive commanders of NORAD and U.S. Northcom have been stating, since my commander back in 2011, General Jacoby, that drones and vessels off of our coastline pose specific threats that have to be dealt with. It should come to no surprise to lawmakers and officials that there's more funding and development of capabilities required to counter these threats at home, because the homeland really is the soft underbelly of our defenses. We're more strong overseas than we are at home. And I speak both as a Canadian serviceman, but also having operated significantly the American service as well. We're much stronger on the away game than we are at home. And there needs to be real good policy that's associated with homeland defense. Law enforcement needs to be, armed with the ability to counter these kinds of systems, and they need to be given funding to be able to do these. Now, pertaining to vessels off of our coastline, it is very plausible that a commercial vessel off of our coastline could be hiding, a set of drones or a missile system. And we worked at a variety of threats that we trained against on a continuous basis to try and counter even the wildest dreams, what you could make up. That is why NORAD was given the Maritime Warning Mission. That is why NORAD and U.S. Northcom, along with the American and Canadian navies and the Coast Guards, monitor all of the vessels off the coastline. But this is difficult stuff to do, and it constitutes a significant threat.
All right. Retired Major General Scott Clancy, sir, thanks very much for being with us this morning. I hope you'll come back if this continues. Thank you.
I'm always ready. Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers.